let's talk about another group of people who have bedeviled the president's desire to get people to stop talking about this, which is Republicans in Congress. People say all the time the president has this iron hold over Republicans. We saw that in the passage of reconciliation. We saw it in the passage of the rescission bill. Like, he does have a lot of sway, maybe more than any president in our lifetime, over his party. Why are people, from Speaker Johnson to other leading members of the Republican Party in Congress, why do they continue to say there must be more disclosure when they know that's not the line the president wants?
Because their feeds look exactly like my feed looks, which is, I mean, it's 90 to 10 out of 100 that want more disclosure on Epstein and who are expressing real anger with the president over this issue. So the power that Trump has over them is that he can turn the base against them, but not on this issue, not on this issue. So I think this is a tough one for them because their constituents are saying something very different than what the president is saying. And in this particular instance, they've got to choose. So they've got to sort of thread that needle where they don't completely tick off the big boss, but show their constituents that they hear them and they care. They're looking for answers. So that's why you got to, you know, Mike Johnson didn't do like a pound the table, like we need more. This is an outrage. He didn't go full Glenn Beck, who I love, but you know, Glenn Beck had the double blackboard out yesterday. You know, it's serious when he busts out the double blackboard.
Double board day.
Yeah. So he didn't go that far, but he said he threw a bone, like we need more disclosure in passing. And I think he set the tone for other Republicans to be able to say that much.
And is your view that this will go away and not be a sustained problem for the president true, even if they disclose nothing else?
Yeah, it is my view. I think, you know, this is as close as Trump has come to the shoot someone on Fifth Avenue moment and see if the base will still stand by him, you know, like a direct attack on them as truly like as bad people, as weaklings, if they care about Jeffrey Epstein and whether he was running a pedophile ring, like it. But he has shown time and time again that he can withstand the most outrageous of behavior. And look, is it so far afield from saying he doesn't like John McCain because he prefers people who aren't captured? That in a way is an attack on core Republican values about praising our military, certainly prisoners of war. It's just Trump, he's doing too much good to stay down in the dumps for long, even with his core supporters. So while there will be lingering resentment about those insults of people who have been very loyal to him and who literally put him in office, it's not going to change their vote because what are they going to do? First of all, he's not running for re-election again, notwithstanding what my pal Steve Bannon says. And they really just need to decide whether they like what he's doing as president for the next 3 years. And look, it's been great. I just made a list this morning. It was like, okay, so we've had the Stop Fentanyl Act this week. Of course, we had the Laken Riley Act. We got the big, beautiful bill through, which has lowered everybody's taxes. It's kicking people off of Medicaid who have been gaming the system, which I don't think most Republicans have a problem with. The border is secure. The crossings are down to just a trickle. Netanyahu nominated him for a Nobel Peace Prize, which actually is legit. So I think there's just too many wins. Trump is too popular, and he's legitimately doing too well for him to stay on the wrong side of his core base for very long.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. You know, I say to people, I see people on TV, including people on the left, but not only, and they're talking with authoritative tone about what this is going to do to Trump's relationship to MAGA. And I say, I think we should all be deferential to Donald Trump and assume he knows more about MAGA than we do. Right? Yep. He's got a good track record. And
he is MAGA.
And yeah, and after he attacked Senator McCain, I fell into the trap of saying, well, this is going to kill him with veterans, and there's a huge veterans vote in Iowa. And then and then in South Carolina, he attacked the Pope, and everybody's like, oh, it's going to kill him with Catholic voters. I was like, no, it's not, and it didn't.
Our dust up on the debate stage, same. Yeah, they're like, he attacked a woman.
Women will never vote for him again. Right? Another good example. And yet there's another group, which is Charlie Kirk and others, Steve, certainly Laura Loomer. Arguably some of the president's most important, influential, and supporters, and amongst those with the strongest sense of the grassroots, and they don't seem to be stopping. So
it's been interesting.
So today's on that front, today's the 17th.
Yeah, you go.
Today's the 17th. Yep. On the 25th, are those shows going to be talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
I think so. Less and less, but I will say, like, Bannon's been really all over it. Bannon every day has got another booking, and you forgot Tucker. Tucker's doing an
it's
in-depth.
it's Ben Ferguson. I mean, I could list 50, and it's almost uniform. And of course, Charlie, who we both like and respect, Charlie spent a day in sabbatical, and then came right back to it. So what will stop? What will if there's no more disclosure? What would cause those people to, if their phones are still 90/10, their inboxes are 90/10, will they keep going? Because when they're talking about that, they're not talking about the president's accomplishments. They're not talking about the Democratic Party's 25% approval rating.
Yeah. It's going to be a lack of oxygen. I mean, the story gets starved because there'll be no drips of information. So it necessarily will not dominate news coverage because we're not getting anything new. And one of the things the president's suffering from right now is, number one, it's a relatively slow news cycle.
Right.
Which is, by the way, another reason why it was dumb to drop that 2-page memo in the middle of the summer. She thought it would get buried. No, it's exactly the opposite. You drop that thing when something massive has happened. Go ask Gary Condit why we stopped talking about him. 9/11 happened, and his whole story got forgotten. So that was dumb. It was a self-inflicted wound. But there's only so much you can do with it when there's no new information coming out. So the left-wing press is now, they're so noble. They're suddenly really interested in getting to the bottom of the Epstein scandal because they deeply care about exploited young girls. Asterisks, if President Trump could get hurt and possibly shown in a photograph with one of them. In any event, they'll keep it going for a while as they now search and use their massive resources to actually get to the bottom of Epstein. But that can't last forever. The guy's been dead for 6 years. There's not going to be a ton of new information. And I think the story will starve from lack of oxygen, even with those people you just mentioned.
Okay, so let's talk about possible oxygen. One thing I said a couple episodes ago that I got heat for, even though I'm sure I'm right, the president's a student of history, and he's a student of presidential history. And one thing he knows is don't put oxygen in here. Don't put more fuel on the fire. If they do have more disclosures, either there'll be more stories about how it's insufficient, or there'll be stuff in there that people will see as fodder. So that's why I don't believe I think they'll avoid disclosure if they possibly can for that reason.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Well, I think at this point, yes, because the way you handle any sort of a quote scandal, and they were sort of sitting with this 2-page memo, they must have realized it would create a quote scandal.
Yeah.
Is to not do a drip, but to put it all out there, put it out up front. Don't have, anything that can come back on you. Like, what about this? What about that? Stand there for hours on end, answering all the questions. And then at every point thereafter, you say, what more do you want from me? I did it. I gave you all the stuff. I sat there for 7 hours answering your questions. It's done. Let's move on. And then you have total credibility to do that. They've done the opposite. Like in the dark of night, a 2-page memo trying to put to bed a scandal his people created, his top people created. And Pam Bondi, as DOJ Attorney General, was fueling the fire for months on television. The nerve of that woman to think she could get away with that. I'm sorry, she's directly to blame for the trouble that Trump is in right now. And I really don't think Pam Bondi recovers from this. The base doesn't have the affinity for her that they have for Trump. And while Trump may be Teflon Don, the people around him aren't. And I do think her days are numbered.
If they do more disclosure, I agree with you. They'll do it. It'll be let it all hang out. It'll be everything to try to stop it. I also do wonder, you said they knew it'd be a firestorm. It doesn't seem to me they did know. It doesn't seem to me they could possibly have anticipated that short report would cause
let me ask you, Mark. Let me ask you about that. Do you really think Todd Blanche right now, the deputy to Pam over at DOJ, is saying no daylight between the FBI and DOJ on that memo? And now you've got several organizations that have subpoenaed or FOIA'd the emails of the FBI officials and the DOJ officials on this. Yeah. Now, you really think when we get those results, you're not going to see daylight between FBI and DOJ? That Dan and Cash were like, sure, this is a great way to handle this. Well,
I agree with you that there'll be daylight, but I can't find anybody who said they rang the alarm bell and said would be the result. My sense is they disagreed about the tactic, but no one that I have found said, this person said, if we do it this way, it's going to cause a firestorm. Maybe that happened. I haven't found it. What about Maxwell testifying? Is that something people in Congress seem to want it? That's on Charlie's list, I believe. Is that something that you think might happen? And if so, what does that do to the story? What does she have to say?
I mean, I saw the Daily Mail report, the same as you did, that she's supposedly reaching out saying she wants to do it.
Yeah.
I have sources that are closer to her than that, and I'm not sure whether that's true. I'm not sure whether she wants to do it. Now, I think if Ghislaine Maxwell thought she could get a shortened prison term or a presidential pardon, she'd do it in a heartbeat. And she's become this very